Marriage. You know, what an interesting relationship beginning at our wedding ceremonies. Who'd have thunk that it would turn out the way that it did, both the positive stuff and the less than positive. I don't know if your wedding was as joyful as that one was. Maybe something unexpected happened at your wedding. Maybe not. Maybe the flowers didn't show up on time, and so you were very disappointed. I know my wedding was really nerve-wracking because my wife and I chose to sing to each other. And if you want any advice about that, if you're thinking about getting married, don't do that. That's horrible. I don't remember anything until that song was done. And I'm sure it was wonderful. My wife, has been a wonderful singer through the years and everything, and so I decided I was going to try to match her. What a stupid thing to do. Okay. Don't do that. But once it was over, then the rest of the wedding was a piece of cake. Carrot cake, to be exact. It was. We had a great time, but boy, up until that point, it was a little nerve-wracking. Weddings, if you're married, are only the tip of the iceberg of this thing called marriage. You know that, don't you? All you married people, you can say amen or okay, just the beginning. For the next 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about marriage. We call this series Marriage or Mirage, because some people walk into marriage not having a clue what it's about. You really didn't know what you were getting yourself into, if you're really honest. Do you? Even though she was wonderful or he was, magnificent, you really are learning day by day. So today we're going to ask the question, what did you expect? And really we can broaden this out for those of you who are not married. What do you expect in a relationship anyway? What are you expecting? And are you always disappointed? If you had a Bible passage read at your wedding, it was probably 1 Corinthians 13. Which is dubbed as the love chapter. We had it read at our wedding, but I wonder how many of us really thought that we could live this way. It just sounds all, Bible-y, kind of all churchy, kind of religious. We say it, we say we believe it, but it ain't gonna happen. It's just not. We kind of learn that. So when I'm doing marriage counseling, pre-marriage counseling, and when I do the weddings, and I don't know if Nancy, if you remember this, I have the couple always put their names in when the word love is used in this 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And so I want you to do that this morning. You don't have to say it out loud or anything like you would do if I was performing your marriage ceremony. Again, and if you're not married yet, this will be good preparation for you if you decide that someday you want to get married. And for those of you who are still single, I'm so glad you're here because you get a chance to do it right the first time. So if you would pay attention, this will help you in your relationships in the future. So every time I say the word love, just you inside, you don't have to say it outside, but every time I say the word love, you put your name in there, okay? And we'll see how this works. Here we go. Ready? Love is patient. Hello. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. It's not boastful or proud or rude. Love does not demand its own way. Love is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. Love does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith. Love is always hopeful, and love endures through every circumstance. I don't know if you're aware of it yet, you can't do that on your own. Love is a gift from God. Love is a choice that we make, that we submit to God's love. He fills us and enables us to do things that we cannot do on our own. Marriage is designed to be a love contest between a husband and a wife. Who can outlove the other person? And it usually starts off pretty good, doesn't it? Those of you, maybe some, we got any newlyweds here? You can go, oh, yeah, he's so dreamy. Oh, yeah, she's so wonderful. It starts off that way for all of us. But some of us make some pretty stupid decisions even as early as on our honeymoon or the week that we get married, like stopping in to see an old girlfriend. That would be really stupid to do, wouldn't it? I'm surprised you didn't leave me right there going, okay, if this is the way it's going to be, you're an idiot. You know, but she's put up with me for almost 46 years now, so we made it through that first week. Most of us are smarter than that, right? You wouldn't do that. You just like, come on, if you got a brain in your head, you're not going to do something like that. But one thing is true. All of us come into marriage with a whole bunch of desires. We have dreams and wishes about what kind of house we're going to live in, where we're going to, when we're going to start having kids, and who will do what tasks around the house. We have hopes and dreams, and we hope for a minivan at certain stages in life, and then we hope to get rid of that stinking minivan at other stages of life. Sometimes we silently hope that our spouse will be like mom or like daddy. That's a rude awakening. You know, mom always did this kind of stuff. Mom cooked this way. Dad took care of me in this way. We dream about how we'll spend our time. Some of us think we want to do everything together. We just want to do everything together. Don't raise your hand if you're one of those kind. Some dream that we'll each have our own friends and we'll be able to do things apart from each other so that we can enjoy our time together. We hope our holidays will be spent like they've always been spent, with our family, not yours. We have desires financially. I mean, 2 incomes will mean lots of new things, and we can save. If saving is a priority for one of you, like it usually is, we can save. We got double income. Dinks, we call it, right? Double income, no kids, and we can just, we'll be a millionaire before we're 30. Yeah. We all come into marriage with a boatload of desires, and then that's a good thing. Nobody goes into marriage going, yeah, whatever. I got him, or I got her, whatever. End of story. Except the other person comes into that same marriage with their desires too, and very rarely do those desires match up. We all have desires, but you can write this on your insert. But when they turn into expectations, there's conflict. Desires are one thing. God-given desires are great. But when they turn into expectations, there's conflict. It may happen quickly. It may happen over time. But our desires tend to become expectations that our spouse needs to fulfill for us if we're going to be happy. You're my wife. After all, that's what wives do, right? That's what my mom did. You're my husband. That's what husbands do. It's what my dad did. When desires become expectations, the dynamics in a marriage instantly change. We want to love and serve and care, but when we're expected to do it, or demanded in some cases, some of you are a little bit stronger personality, it kind of across like you're demanding things sometimes. Just take a big deep breath if you're a demander. When desires become expectation, everything changes. The bottom line is it's just very easy for me to be me. The same is true that it's very easy for you to be you. But when you try to be me, or I try to be you, or I try to make you be me, it just doesn't work. It comes very naturally for me to be me. So if you would just get on board with me and my desires, then everything will be hunky-dory, dear. And your spouse may feel the exact same way. So what are we supposed to do? Just marry somebody that's exactly like you, like we all did, right? We all married somebody exactly like us. What is the deal there? Why are we so attracted to somebody who's so different than we are? Because they're so different than we are, and we're attracted to that. So, I want to look today at a few common responses to marriage struggles. And again, some of you have experienced those. Some of you will sit back and go, yep, that one happened, or that I'm right in the middle of that one now. You don't have to say anything out loud. And again, at the end of these, there is a better way. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about that better way. So don't just go home today going, well, that was depressing. He gave me all the reasons why it's not going to work. Now, it's not. This is kind of the intro to our series, okay? So if you're going off to New York, listen to it online, okay? Because we're going to talk about the better way. But just let me kind of butter your bread, so to speak, and let you know what happens. Common responses to marriage struggles. Number one, just leave. Just bail. This isn't what I expected. I'm out of here. Many people do that. According to recent data, about 35 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. About 60 to 70% of second marriages end in divorce. I didn't look at third marriages and fourth marriages, but the statistics are not good for starting over with somebody else. He just wasn't a good husband. I had expectations about what a good husband was supposed to be. He wasn't one. I'm out of here. She expected so much of me, I couldn't meet up to her expectations, so I'm out of here. I've met somebody who makes me laugh. I'm going to go spend my time with her. I got that call this week. After 39 years of marriage, she makes me laugh. I think I like her better than you now. I felt like punching the guy. What are you doing? Playing the stupid card. So now the problem is that you take you with you wherever you go. And more often than not, a second marriage, if you're in a second marriage, perhaps you can relate to this, a second marriage can all too often begin to feel like that first marriage. Oh no, here we go again. The common denominator is you. You took you with you. Wherever you go, there you are. Another response, leaving was the first one, another response to marriage struggles is to conquer or to try to change your spouse. The stronger partner wins. If you can talk faster or louder or both, you can win. The problem with winning is that somebody loses. If there's a winner, then there's a loser. And when it comes to marriage, that's never a good thing. For one of you to be the winner and the other one to be the loser. When you win in marriage, explaining for the umpteenth time how a good wife is supposed to be, and she finally says, okay, I'll do it your way. You think things are great because being that way comes naturally to you. But it's very stressful for your spouse because what we're really saying is if you would just be more like me, everything would be better. And nothing could be farther from the truth. We never say it that way because it sounds so selfish, but that's what we communicate. If you would just be more like me, things will be better. So that leads to a third response, and that is to conform. For one of you to decide to try to be somebody that you're not, just to keep peace in the house. Will be somebody that I'm not going to be. And for a while, things seem to get better when one of you decides to conform. One spouse says, okay, if that's what it takes to make you happy, if that's what it takes to make you think we have a good marriage, then, if that's the way your mama did it, then okay, I'm going to suck it up and try to be more like your mama or like your daddy. Then okay, I surrender. You win. I'll do what it takes to make you happy. But only one person is happy. You know that, especially if you're the one that's trying to conform. Statistics would say that in your late 30s or maybe your early 40s, that begins to break down. You can suck it up and take it for a while. After a while, you run out of steam. Emotionally and physically, things begin to unravel. The romance grows wings and flies out the window. Things just aren't the same anymore. We just live together. So if you say, I will put up and shut up long enough, something in you dies. And your spouse might think that everything's going great until one day he wakes up and you're gone, or she wakes up and you're gone. It's not worth it anymore. Trying to be somebody that you're not takes its toll on you, and you just wear out eventually. That's what happens if you choose to just conform, try to be somebody that you're not. The fourth option people choose, and probably this is the one that most people choose, and this is the option to compromise. I will if you will. Let's just make a contract here. I'll do that if you do. If I do, if you do. I did it your way last time. You do it my way this time. It's kind of a contractual agreement. I will do what you ask me to do if you do what I ask you to do. And if you don't do what I ask you to do, then I'm not going to do what you ask me to do. You have your friends, I have mine. You have your money, I'll have mine. You have your time away, I'll have my time away. And things go good, at least on the outside for a while, until didn't we do what you wanted to do last time? I think you owe me one. I think it's my turn now. Compromise can lead to scorekeeping, and it kills a marriage. It becomes like a business deal. If you're in a compromised marriage, you say things like, I'm concerned about my marriage. I'm committed to my marriage. I want to keep my marriage together. But marriage, as designed by God, is all about being committed to another person. I don't want Judy to be committed to our marriage. I want her to be committed to me. Does that sound selfish? I think she wants me to be committed to her, not to our marriage. Well, what are people going to say? I'm committed to our marriage. We have to stay together for the children. I've heard that we're staying together for the kids. As if your kids don't know what's going on. Marriage is about two people being one. We'll learn about that more next week. You can go out and get the marriage, right? If you want to protect the marriage, you can go out and do that. God wants you to be committed to your spouse until death do you part. Not until expectations do you part. When we choose to compromise in our marriage, we'll constantly be communicating, I have expectations that you need to meet. I have expectations that you need to meet. And our marriages move from being a covenant, an unconditional relationship, to one of being a contract. It becomes like a debt-debtor relationship that is expressed with the words, you owe me. You owe me. Now, you probably won't receive a nice letter from your mortgage company each month when you make your mortgage payment. They don't usually write to you saying, Dear Ed, thank you so much for making your mortgage payment. Here, we're sending you a little gift card. We appreciate what you're doing. You're making your mortgage payment. And you have been doing that. We don't know where your children are at now, but if you'll let us know, we'll send them a gift card in the mail too, because we so appreciate you making your mortgage payment. No, they expect you to make your mortgage payment. The only way you get a personal letter from them, don't make it. It'll get real personal. You'll get a personal letter. You'll get a personal call after a while. They'll know you by name because you did not meet their expectations. It's not a good thing, but you get their attention. So if you say these words, you're my wife. You owe me. You're my husband. You owe me. You stood at the altar and you promised. Do you remember? You promised to love, cherish, honor, buy me, give me, make my life wonderful. Didn't you promise all those things to me? And I'm going to hold you to it. You promised. And your spouse was there too when you promised to love and care and support until death do you part. So you owe me too. And in this kind of a relationship, trust and intimacy and unconditional love just goes right out the window because you owe me. But love is a gift. Love is a choice. And if everything is expected in our relationships, there's no opportunity to give or receive unconditional love because everything is expected. A legitimate desire morphs into being an expectation without us even being aware of it sometimes. God designed you, for instance, to be respected. That's a God thing. All of us want to be respected, don't we? But to start demanding it, to start coming home singing R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what that means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, just a little bit. Sock it to me, man. Sock it to me. Give me that. Companionship is a legitimate desire to be wanted. It's a legitimate desire to demand it, to be accepted, to be understood, to be listened to. All legitimate, God-given desires. But the minute they become an expectation, then we put our spouse in a very awkward situation. And we begin to treat them as if they owe us. See that ring on your finger? You owe me. And the unconditional love of our marriage becomes instead trying to measure up to her expectations or his expectations. Do you know how to tell when a desire has become an expectation? A God-given legitimate desire, how it's become an expectation? The difference between desires and expectations? First of all, it's expressed by your expressions of gratitude. We don't express gratitude for things we've come to expect, like I talked to you about your mortgage company. We don't express gratitude for things we've come to expect. That's just what she does. She does that. She always does that. She's always done that. Well, I don't be thankful for that. She does it every day. She makes my lunch. She cleans my clothes. I don't be thankful for that. Really? Always thankful for that. She's a wife. Isn't that what wives are supposed to do? My mama did. Your expressions of gratitude for daily, normal, routine kinds of things tells you in a moment if mentally and emotionally things have transitioned from a desire to an expectation. So homework this week. Say thanks. Say thanks for the little things. Boy, thanks, honey, for doing that. Boy, thanks for, you do that all the time. And us guys will say, nah, I don't need that, right? We'll say, nah, we don't have to. We don't need that. We don't need support. We're men. We don't. Yes, we do. It makes us feel real good. It makes us feel appreciated and not expected. Well, that's just what the husband's supposed to do. No. Say thanks. Don't expect it to be done. When was the last time that you told your spouse, thank you? Maybe in the car on the way home today. Okay, that would be wonderful. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. Now, if you came in separate cars, you'll have to wait until you get home. Okay. But to say thank you. Now, again, that works if you're not married too, doesn't it? To say thank you to somebody who's serving you and doing things. The second way is your acts of service. When you see that something needs to be done that your spouse would normally do, just do it. You know, the clothes are just all over everywhere. She needs to pick those up. I know they're mine, but I mean, she always picks them up, so just pick them up. Put your underwear in the hamper, the dirty ones. I mean, you're gross. I mean, that kind of little things. Little things. Put your socks away. You don't just throw stuff away. Dishes in the sink or in the dishwasher, whatever you guys have decided. Little things. Picking up things. Yard care. Whatever. Don't just expect her to do it because she always does it, or him to do it just because he's supposed to do it. He's the husband. I ran out of gas. It's his fault. I can't read that little gauge. He's supposed to keep it full. Oh, come on. Now imagine, if you would, with me, a marriage that was built around fulfilling the desires and the dreams of the person that you married, rather than to try to live up to their expectations. A whole different thing, isn't it? It's kind of like when somebody tells you you will do something, you automatically, there's something in you that says, no. You're telling me to do that? No. Ask me, that's a whole different thing, isn't it? And we find out with our children it's that way. You tell them to do something, and there's just something that goes up. I think the horns start to grow out of their heads. You know, they become little devils. You need to do that. No. Sometimes they just get really quiet, don't you, William? You don't even respond, and it's kind of like, oh, if you don't even respond, my fist is bigger than your face. Which is not a good thing, okay? I was just being honest with you. We're in church. Can we be honest, okay? Sometimes when they ignore you, it's like, oh, I'm bigger than you. I'm not going to put up with that. But imagine, if you would, a marriage that's built around fulfilling the desires and dreams of that other person. Not because they expect you to do it, because you want to do it. Because you love them and you want to express love for them. It's a completely different experience. And again, we're going to talk about this kind of marriage, this kind of relationship for the next couple of weeks. And it begins with this question. So this may be your homework as well as the ones of expressing gratitude and doing little acts of service. Little things, just little things. Here's what it starts with. What does your spouse owe you? What does your husband owe you? What does your wife owe you? Have your desires moved into being expectations? Well, he better do that. If he doesn't do that, well, then he can't get that. That's it. We're done. Really. That's starting down a pathway into a relationship that you don't want to be a part of. It's no fun. The fun leaves. So, what are you going to do with this? Again, married people, maybe a little homework. Those of you who are single, it's like, well, that's easy. I don't have to do nothing. I'm still. I don't have to be nice to. And let me tell you that just because you say the words "I do," you're pretty much the same person before I do and after I do. Have you figured that one out yet? So if you can start practicing now, being kind and gracious, with just saying thank you for just the little things, then if someday you choose to get married, it'll just be natural to you. That'll be a part of who you are. So let me just give you a minute. Like when we do this every Sunday, kind of everybody comes to the altar, only we don't have an altar, so the altar is right there in your heart to say, what are you going to do with what you just heard? What is it? What's one step you can take? What's the right next step for you? Maybe it's to read 1 Corinthians 13 and kind of line your life up with that. Am I kind? Am I patient? Oh boy. Maybe that's where you need to start. Maybe it needs to be today when you're saying thank you for some little thing that your spouse has done or that your children have done. I don't know what that is, but I may just give you a minute. I'll quit talking. You just ask God, God, what do you want me to do with what I just heard? And then I'll come back in just a minute and pray, okay?